You always know more clearly what you do want when you're living some of what you don't want. You always, always do. Jerry and Esther have a dear friend who's written a wonderful book. He has been hearing us for years and gathering resources through his own life experience. Jerry and Esther think he's the best storyteller they know. His name is Alan Cohen, and his new book, newest to Esther and Jerry, is Why Your Life Sucks and What to Do About It. And much of what he has written, he has confirmed with what he is knowing about law of attraction and art of allowing, hearing words from Esther's translation. And he has a passage in his book called, If It's Not Hell Yes, Then It's Hell No. And his premise is that when someone approaches you with something, that if you're tuned in to your guidance, right away you can feel the viability of the offering. And if it's the next logical step for you, you're going to feel a resounding yes about it. And if it isn't, don't string them along with maybe or I'll think about it. Just say no for right now. Now, Jerry and Esther are beginning to understand the simplicity that would bring to their life. In other words, they acknowledge that they, when they get tuned in to source, can feel the rightness or the wrongness of every turn they make, even in traffic. They can feel, they got on a freeway the other day, and as they were approaching it, Esther could feel that it was wrong, and she still had time to take the exit, and she overrode her impulse with logic. And then they sat in traffic for a couple of hours. And Esther said, I'm going to start listening to that. And Jerry said the tricky thing about that is when you get that impulse and you go the way you felt the impulse to go, you never really have any valid, concrete awareness of what was over there on that other road. So you tend to sort of second guess yourself and say, maybe the other road would have been faster. And Esther said, I suppose it's not really practical for us to unhitch the car and me go that way and you go that way. Then we'll really know which way was the most efficient. But what we're wanting you to come to the place of realizing is that you can trust that. And if you will reach the place that you don't need to go back and gather the evidence that the impulse was right, but instead you will assume that source energy from broader view knows. Now, we don't think any of you have problem with accepting that the broader part of you has a broader view of your life and where you're going, and would give you really good feedback about it. But we think what you question is your ability to decipher it. You don't trust your reading of your guidance. And we say it's time you practice it until you do. Because you're not going to come to trust it if you don't yourself personally begin to follow the thoughts that feel good with thought, word, and action, and avoid the things that don't feel good. In other words, you've got to reach the place where you listen to the guidance that is coming forth from within. Otherwise, you have no guidance. Can you imagine if Magellan, instead of just having 2 points of vibrational relativity, where are they in relationship to where they want to be, got really helpful and decided to include 10 or 20 other people's proximities and destinations in the system? So Jerry and Esther are looking at the screen and they're seeing streets that are nowhere near them. This isn't even our hemisphere, they will say. That sort of guidance is of no value, and yet you use it all the time. You dig up stuff that wasn't written for you, that was deciphered by people not like you and living in different times. You dig up stuff that was written in a time that the language that you know didn't even exist, and you count on translators who had agendas to guide you now. Dear friends, you're out of your minds. You listen to people who are nowhere near you talking about things that you should do when they don't know about your 2 points of vibrational relativity. They haven't walked in your moccasins. They haven't lived your life. They haven't launched your rockets. They don't know your vibrational escrow. They don't have emotional feedback letting them know whether what you're about to do is the next logical step. They can't guide you. And because you haven't practiced guiding you, you default to their terrible guidance. And then you teach yourself unworthiness. And then you blame them for their flawed guidance. And so our message to you is, don't do that. Actually, our message to you is much more than what not to do. Our message is about what to do. And what to do is anything from where you are that feels a little better than something else. Joseph Campbell told you what to do. He said, follow your bliss. Best words we've ever heard any tongue say. Problem with it, in its truest, most literal sense, is that if you are in depression, you can't get a whiff of bliss. If you are in depression, the closest thing you can get to bliss may very well feel like revenge. And we rarely hear anyone say, follow your revenge. But we'll say it to you. If you're depressed, we'll say, follow your revenge. And if you feel revenge, we'll say, follow your rage. And if you feel rage, we'll say, follow your anger. And if you feel angry, we'll say, follow your frustration. Reach for the breath of fresh air that frustration will bring you. And if you're in frustration, we'll say, follow your hope. And if you're hoping for something, we'll say, follow your belief. And if you're believing, we'll say, follow your knowing. In other words, there is no ending to the clarity and the knowledge that Source holds for you. Source is a guiding light that has already traversed the distance between where you were when you launched the desire and where you want to be. Source is vibrationally already there. That's why we say, when you ask, it is given. It is given, 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 it is given. The question is, where are you in vibrational proximity to what you ask for that has been given? Step 1 says, ask. You're doing it all day, every day. Step 2 says, Source will answer. It is given every single time, no exceptions. Step 3 says, I must be a vibrational match to what I'm asking for. And if I'm discouraged that I don't have enough money, I'm not letting in the money that I've asked for that is given. If I keep bumping up against people who disappoint me, and I keep beating the drum of their disappointing behavior, every time I bump up against their disappointing behavior, I launch a rocket of desire, and Source not only becomes that, but plots a very viable step-by-step course for me to get to where I want to be. But if I keep complaining about the people that are disappointing me, then all law of attraction can bring to me is more disappointment. So what it comes down to, 2 things. You have to care about how you feel, or your guidance will give you no feedback. And you have to trust that the feedback that you're getting is from broader view. And until you're ready to really care about how you feel, until you're ready to say, nothing is more important than that I feel good, you will be separated from your guidance.